Hello and welcome to Visual Recreation, or for these types of videos, maybe we should be called Visual Evaluation. Get it? Get it? Because we're reviewing and evaluating movies and Is this thing on?
Last time we talked about the newest Disney Plus full-length movie, Artemis Fowl, which was kind of foul. Now this time we watched the 1988 detective thriller animation Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and that's also available on Disney Plus. So.
Wow, that is correct.
Yes.
Now, Joey, you were the one that suggested we watch Who Watched Roger Rabbit for the show, for the channel. What was it that made you want to revisit this movie? Was it something that you saw on YouTube or something that just popped up? Like, I don't think anybody's talked about Roger Rabbit in a decade.
Yeah.
And you were very quick on the draw to suggest this movie. So what was it? What was your relationship to this movie? Did you watch it as a kid? How much do you like it? Give us some backstory on you and Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was a film that I watched as a young kid. I mean, I don't remember what age I was when I first watched the movie, but I mainly wanted to dive back into it for the visual effects side of it.
Okay.
Kind of like a film school study, if you will, because a lot of effects from like Star Wars and the movies like Who Framed Roger Rabbit set up the framework in cinema for how they did VFX, and then to where it got to now with the computer graphics, animation, and green screen work and stuff like that. So a lot of the stuff they did back then were building blocks to now. So I wanted to see how the movie held up, if it was still good and funny to watch, and how it held up on the VFX side as well. What about you?
So as a kid, I used to watch this movie a ton. Now, that seems crazy rewatching it, because there's a lot of stuff that I don't think is suitable for when I was watching it at the age I was. Granted, this is PG. Also, very shocked that this was on Disney Plus. I had no idea this was a Disney property or anything to that effect. So when I found out that you could watch it with your subscription on Disney Plus, I was intrigued, and then we watched it. But before we get too deep into our thoughts and a deeper talk into what is Roger Rabbit, let's do a quick synopsis just to get everybody familiar if they haven't seen it before or if they haven't seen it in forever. We can get into it. A private eye, Eddie Valiant, gets hired by a cartoon producer, R.K. Maroon. He is paid to investigate an adultery scandal involving Jessica Rabbit. Both things probably shouldn't be in a kid's movie or not known to be in kids' movies. Jessica Rabbit is the wife of one of R.K. Maroon's biggest stars, Roger Rabbit. But when Marvin Acme is found murdered, Judge Doom vows to catch and destroy Roger Rabbit. Reluctantly, Eddie helps Roger find out what's really going on and who's behind the murders. Who Framed Roger Rabbit stars Bob Hoskins, Charles Fleischer as the voice of Roger Rabbit, Kathleen Turner as the voice of Jessica Rabbit, and Christopher Lloyd as Judge Doom.
That's right. Now, this is a Touchstone picture, and it was directed by Robert Zemeckis, who you may know wrote and directed some great films, including the Back to the Future trilogy.
Now that's the power of love!
Yes. Now, Who Framed Roger Rabbit premiered in late June of 1988, and it made $11.2 million in its opening weekend. Now, it would go on to make over $350 million worldwide. It's also Robert Zemeckis' highest rated film on Rotten Tomatoes with a 97%, which is just over Back to the Future's 96% and Castaway's 88%.
All right, well, that's a lot of good information, a lot of good backstory. Can't believe those Rotten Tomato scores. Now, we can jump right into the movie. Joey, what were your overall thoughts of Who Framed Roger Rabbit on your most recent viewing?
I thought it was a fun movie. I thought it was funny. I thought the way the characters were animated and the way the actors responded and reacted to the animated characters was funny and really good. Did you know that they created little animatronics or little robots at certain points?
No.
That interacted with like the real props. So like the scene where Roger's singing in the bar and he's breaking the plates. It's basically a robot arm that's breaking plates.
Oh.
And then they
okay.
use that to animate over that so that you don't see that in the final product. But
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That's also one of my favorite scenes.
Oh yeah.
Growing up and rewatching the movie was the whole bar scene. I really enjoyed it.
I mean, I like the way the movie progressed overall. Everything, there was a reason for pretty much everything that was going on in the movie that kept the story progressing forward. I mean, you could obviously tell that Christopher Lloyd's character was the bad guy from the moment he stepped foot on stage.
I mean, with a name like Judge Doom.
Yeah.
It's hard not to.
Just how he responded. So he was talking about, gosh, if I remember this right, he was talking about, or he was setting an example for tunes everywhere that they can get dipped. And he just grabbed this random shoe and put it in the dipped and it died.
Yeah.
And so at that point, though, he was trying to figure out, or be a part of trying to figure out what happened. But yet he just killed this innocent toy.
Yeah.
Or innocent character right in front of us. So.
Yeah, it was pretty... And then you can get a key of what he is because of the attire he's wearing, the color palette he is. He's always wearing sunglasses. I mean, he has the mob with the weasels running around, and they're all not good characters.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot out there in the open, which makes me believe this is directed towards kids. But there's a lot of stuff that's not directed towards kids in this movie, and I think it's tongue in cheek for what it like. Parents having to go take their kids to the movies.
Yeah.
So it's something for both.
I mean, I don't know if it was directed towards kids because Looney Tunes in itself wasn't really made for children.
Well, they were at the start of this year of 1988. Also, this movie takes place in 1947. Had no idea about that either.
Yep.
So, like I mentioned, I watched this movie a ton as a kid, and it captured the imagination of like cartoons, if they were real, working with people in the movie and TV industry. I knew growing up I wanted to be in like animation, or I loved cartoons as a kid, so I drew a ton. So that aspect really was inspiring to me, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And I don't know, rewatching this movie, I just found as though that it was a little bit boring in my take. Yeah, it just wasn't as exciting or nostalgic as I wanted it to be. It just didn't capture my attention as much as I wanted it to be. I can respect what this movie is going for and what it is accomplished and how it's held up over the years. Like you said, it has the animatronics, so the eye levels were a little bit better than, say, some of the tennis ball, Jurassic Park type of VFX. But I just felt like it was dragging a little bit. 45 minutes in, like the last half an hour is fantastic and it really starts picking up steam. But man, it was really kind of slow for me, and it just wasn't as exciting. It being boring now kind of worries me. Like, how did I make it through as a kid so many times to get to that nightmare feel at the very end of the movie with Christopher Lloyd's voice going so high pitched
and then getting smashed? Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm the complete opposite. I found that getting to see a lot of the characters that I've seen from Disney and then from Looney Tunes all in one movie, that was really cool. Donald Duck, Daffy Duck doing a piano duel. I found that really cool. But yeah, like you were saying with the animatronics, fun fact, they didn't always have those little robot things. Those robots that they built were mainly whenever the characters interacted with live props.
Right.
So like they would come in with like large dolls of the characters to get them in place and then rehearse the scene, and then they would take all of that away and the actor would just act with nothing in front of them.
Right.
And then they would come back and measure the eye levels too. So that's what Bob Hoskin?
Yeah.
Did you say his name?
Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, so that's what his performance really brought to life Roger Rabbit, because that's one thing they were saying. There's a behind the scenes that you can watch. It's on YouTube. Really, really old behind the scenes, but it's really fun to watch. It's like 30 minutes. But that's one thing that they were talking about, is that his performance brought out the character, because he had to interact with nothing in front of him.
Right.
He had to show that he was grabbing something and giving weight to what he was grabbing. So every time he grabbed Roger by the neck or the ears, it was very believable. So there was weight behind it. So the performance and the acting, I think, in the movie for the year that it was made, I thought it was really good. His performance was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, watching it back when I was a kid, I disliked anything that didn't have any real cartoons in it because I mainly watched for the cartoons. Now, rewatching it, I really enjoyed Bob Hoskins, and I always thought Christopher Lloyd's performance was absolutely pristine. Like, he was amazing. I mean, he's a cartoon in and of himself. I heard also, or I went to IMDb's trivia page when watching this movie. Apparently, they didn't have the sketch of Jessica Rabbit completely done when they were filming the movie. So they just told Bob Hoskins to, like, imagine your fantasy girl, and then she's on the stage. And so react like you just saw your fantasy girl on stage, which... Can I just say that the first scene that you see Jessica Rabbit is crazy, in my opinion. Like, the way that the camera moves around her and, like, the way she's drawn. There's parts where it's like, this is bigger than this, and this is, like...
Yeah, the proportions got a little funky.
Oh, my gosh. Like, it kept moving. I was like, we're getting a little too ambitious in this scene. Like, let's hold it down a little bit. And then she's, like, interacting with them, and then Betty Boop's there, and there's just a lot going on. Then patty cake.
The patty cake,
But, and then there was another thing talking about how that, gosh, I can't remember. Oh, Bill Murray was actually... offered the role that Bob Hoskins had. Yeah, he was supposed to be Eddie Valiant, and then come to find out they couldn't get a hold of Bill Murray.
Oh yeah,
so
I've heard that's a normal thing.
So they gave it to Bob Hoskins, and then come to find out Bill Murray was like, "Oh, I would have totally done it if I would have known about it." But then he got to be in his own type of version with Space Jam, where he gets to come in and play basketball with Michael Jordan and stuff. So who knows? Would they have gotten Bill Murray to do Space Jam after that, or do you think... I don't know. I think this movie did well enough, but I mean, I think you couldn't have gone wrong, but I'm glad they had Bob Hoskins, because I don't know, he brought that last bit alive when he was trying to get the weasels to die of laughing. That was always one of my favorite scenes too.
Oh yeah, when he was singing and dancing,
throwing the things, he's going crazy.
And to your point of the proportions being a little off in that one scene.
Oh my gosh.
Robert Zemeckis was saying that back then there was a rule where the camera had to be still when you were doing animation. Yeah. And he was like, why is that a rule? Who made up that rule? So we're just going to film this movie like it's a normal live action movie. Right. And then the animators have to figure out how to make it work. So that's kind of what they did.
And then they found out that maybe we should have kept it still. Like, it was like a kaleidoscope at one point. I was like, what is happening? I'm getting seasick just like trying to figure out what proportions she has. And then she's like getting into the crowd, and then she's getting into his face. I was like, your face was this big when you were sitting in his lap, and then when you got back on stage, it's like this big. Just the first, like, just the first meeting of her, it was like, oh my gosh. But then after that, when you get the photos of the patty cake and her throughout the rest of the movie, it's fine. Right. Like, she's totally good, but.
Yeah. Because this movie was, like you were saying, pretty crude for, if it was directed towards kids, then I don't know how my father let me watch this when I was younger. But, yeah, rewatching it now, I thought it was a good film. It's a period piece, film noir, feature-length animation, and a live action all mixed into one. Oh, yeah. So I think it's worth checking out now. If you haven't seen it in a long time, definitely check it out. If you have Disney Plus, it's on there.
Yeah, I would suggest if you have Disney Plus and already paying for it to go watch Roger Rabbit. Yeah. Don't go out of your way to go watch this movie. There's so many other movies that you could watch that people are talking about. Okay, so you've talked a lot about how good this movie is. I want to know something that you didn't care for in this movie. Like, what is something that you thought they just kind of missed the mark? Was it a storyline? Was it a plot line? What's something that you just didn't care for in this movie?
I don't know. That's a good question. I kind of really like this movie.
All right, well, Joey loved it all.
I don't know. I mean, how I don't know, because that's the time and place that it was made. I guess how over the top crude some of it was.
Okay.
Like that could have been toned down a bit. As far as the acting, I thought the acting was really, really good throughout the movie. He said it was boring, so.
I think it was a little slow at parts, I thought, for being PG, but I mean, there wasn't PG-13 out just yet when this movie was coming out. I don't know. It was just like, I thought it was a little bit melodramatic when it came down to it was just a freeway that he wanted to create. He wanted to have all this control over the red cars, over the Toon Town, which only one person can own Toontown.
I guess that is true. Yeah, he kind of wanted to destroy Toontown just for a freeway.
That was it. I felt like that was like, really, that's all. We murdered so many people just to have a freeway. I mean, I get it. It's a kids movie. They're trying to make it an easy, like, oh, he's a villain because of this, and that's it. Like, to make it like as believable as possible. It just was like, I don't know. It was just a little bit melodramatic. You could have done anything you wanted if you held the rights to Toontown, if you held the rights to this or the public transportation, yet all you want to do is create a freeway. And to me, knowing what a freeway is just very anticlimactic.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Everything included with the freeway, the gas stations, the motels. He wanted to make all the money off of all that stuff. So,
it's all right. I think the best thing about this movie is Christopher Lloyd, though. I think he's brilliant, especially at the end, where he is getting squashed like a roll of toothpaste underneath the bulldozer. And then when he gets up, does the helium, his eyes pop out. And then he is having that high-pitched voice that he was hiding all along. And then the whole thing about him killing Eddie's brother, having it come full circle.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I like Bob Hoskins' performance throughout the whole movie. I thought it was great. He's interacting with literally nothing in front of him, and it's believable the whole way through.
Yeah.
So,
have you? Speaking of movies that are kind of like this, and we talked about Space Jam, or I talked about Space Jam. Have you seen the behind the scenes of Space Jam?
Not in a while.
Like, Michael Jordan is just bouncing a basketball in a literal green room with nothing around him, and it's like, give that man all the accolades, because it's like, what are you doing? You're not even doing. You're not looking at anything. He's not talking to really anybody except a PA off the screen, and then he's trying to play a whole basketball game by himself, and it's just like, what? Like, this doesn't get recognized enough. Like, people can talk bad about Space Jam, which I have, because it's not that great of a movie, but give all your accolades to Michael Jordan, because he is doing everything with nothing, like literal nothing.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's what makes it so believable. I think, though, in Space Jam, the eye lines get a little messed up sometimes.
I
don't think it's on 100%.
Oh, it's messy in a lot of areas.
Yeah, so
it's very messy in a lot of areas, and also some of the plot points and having to do A, B, and C. But just to have to act, this being his like first major real acting movie, full length, that's not all about like just his life or something. It's like, this is it, and it's like, wow, to start trying to bat a grand slam on your first at bat, which is also a Michael Jordan thing, because he went to go play baseball.
Yeah, he did play baseball, but it is extremely difficult to act by yourself or with no reference or nothing in front of you. So props to those guys and those actors that do that. But props to this film for the visual effects. I give that a 10 out of 10.
All right, well, you're already giving it ratings. What would you give this movie out of a 10-star rating overall? Also, which movie would you rather watch, this movie or Space Jam?
That's a good question. Gosh, that's a tough question now, because I really enjoyed watching Roger Rabbit.
Yes.
I don't know. I'll give Roger Rabbit, the movie as a whole, a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
I liked the VFX a lot more. That's why I gave that a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
But I don't know. I like looking into how things are made, so that's the main reason why I watched it. But Space Jam or Roger Rabbit? I really like Space Jam too. So
that hasn't come out yet.
I don't know. Well, yeah. Excellent joke. Probably Space Jam.
Okay. Okay, you'll say Space Jam. Okay. I did not enjoy it as much as you did. I think that's easy to say. It just doesn't hold my attention or the nostalgia factor as I would like it to. And I definitely think it's not as good of a movie, say, as Back to the Future or Castaway, both of which I've watched very recently. And one is 2.5 hours long, and I watched it in its entirety. I could not stop it. And it was getting late one night, and I was like, I'm just going forward. I got to get this. So with that being said, I would have to give it a 6.5 out of 10. And I would say that I would watch Space Jam before I would watch this one again.
All right.
I would watch Space Jam 2 times in a row, then watch Roger Rabbit one more time in a row to make it 2 times in a row.
Nice.
But that's it.
Yeah, that's it. It's our review. I hope you enjoyed what we had to say about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and if you're interested in checking it out, it's on Disney Plus. Go watch it.
Also, if you've seen it or remember it,
let
us know what you thought of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. What are your thoughts? Are you enamored by it and love it? Or are you kind of like, I could take it or leave it?
Yeah, what's your favorite parts? What's your not so favorite parts?
Yeah, definitely.
Put in the comments below. And that's it. We'll see you next time on the next visual evaluation. That's what we're calling it now?
I guess so.
All right. Sounds good to me.
All right. Bye.